tigers?
Fish are peons.
So this is like what, a top 4th wall Q&A? What is this?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nope, doesn't look like it. Sorry.
Alright, you ready to rock?
I've been here since 6:30, so yes.
So you were born ready.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fucking it. Alright. Welcome to Not a Top 4th Log.
I'm in the wrong room.
So yes, we are here to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting all the way with Iron Man, going with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're going to just kind of talk about the movies, what we liked, didn't like, and definitely want to get your guys' opinion, so ask us questions. I'd love to hear some theories. Comic-Con's next week. I don't know if you guys have caught the Guardians of the Galaxy spoilers that came out today.
I have not, so don't tell me.
Yeah.
Oh no, dude, I want to share this because it's so amazing.
I'm gone.
Alright, $5 and I won't say it. No, because I'm so excited for it. So yeah.
Canadian?
What's the exchange rate? Hold on. But yeah, so I guess let's start with the man who needs little introduction.
Who is he?
Because he's popular.
I'm Brad Jones. Wow, Spoonie, you really don't.
You really let yourself go.
Yeah, I'm Linkara. I host Top the 4th Wall, where I talk about comic books, which apparently makes me qualified to talk about movies.
I am Mike Dodd from thisweekingeek.net and thesewordsarterrible.com. I talk about everything nerdy that you possibly can talk about, and somehow make a very sad living at it.
Woo! I'm Jess, aka Lady Spaz. I work on Nerdvice. This is my substitute Mjolnir, and I love the Marvel Cinematic movies. I actually incorporate them in my show from time to time, and other than that, I'm just here because he invited me and I apparently have boobs or something.
Because tits are awesome. Alright, so I guess, what's everybody's background with the Marvel, I guess, comics? I mean, like, when did you start getting into comics and then the movies?
Well, the thing is with me, I'm more of a DC guy in general, but DC has this tendency of kind of stabbing himself repeatedly with a rusty fork. And whereas Marvel these days has really, I mean, Marvel has been on top in terms of sales for the longest time, but it's the movies especially where they've shined and really embraced the mainstream and gotten more people interested in it than a lot of DC properties right now. So I'm trying to get more into Marvel books. I mean, most of my knowledge is like old storylines like Infinity Gauntlet. I say old, it's like what, 80s, 90s?
Yeah,
that's old for some of us.
94,
yeah.
Something like that.
Secret Wars, you know, a lot of classic kind of stuff, classic X-Men storylines. Whereas, which they're drawing a few inspirations from, especially the Infinity Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
Which how many people, show of hands here, who's a Marvel Comics fan? Who here squeed when they mentioned the Infinity Gems at the end of Thor? There you go.
For myself with Marvel, I go back, I read the Marvel comics in the 90s. I read the X-Men #1 that everybody had. I collected the Executioner's song, which crossed over into X-Men comics. I followed Spider-Man up until the Clone Saga. You know what's sad?
I think everyone did.
Now, to make myself look like a complete asshole, I actually kind of liked the Clone Saga because I love the Scarlet Spider outfit. I think that was wonderful. And with the movies, started with Spider-Man and X-Men, that with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it blew me away that Iron Man didn't suck. They made a character that nobody had cared about in so long relevant again, and with Robert Downey Jr., you can kind of cast that role more perfectly.
The casting has been truly excellent in the Cinematic Universe stuff. I mean, I think we've had like what 3 Hulks now, but
well, you know.
But even then, each time, Incredible Hulk is the only Hulk film I haven't seen, but I've heard that it's supposed to be really good. I mean, it's probably for the best that what was his name?
Mark Ruffalo?
Yeah, not Mark Ruffalo, the guy from Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Edward Norton. It's probably the best Edward Norton was not Hulk in the Avengers, but from what I've heard, he still did a fantastic job with it.
And your background?
Okay, my background is I started reading Marvel Comics really, really early because my dad was a huge fan of the Dark Phoenix saga. And I have loved Hawkeye forever. He has always been my favorite Avenger, and when I found out he was in Thor, I squeed a lot. But what I really love about how I got into the Marvel Cinematic Universe was I am a huge fan of Robert Downey Jr. to begin with, because he did Chaplin, and when I found out he was going to be Iron Man, I was like, okay, like, shut up and take my money. I don't care. I've seen every Marvel Cinematic Universe at least 20 times. Avengers I went to go see 14 times in theaters, but I only paid for 5 because I was smart. You figure it out. I'm not going to tell you. It's okay. What's up?
I'm an employee of Cineplex, so I can feasibly figure out how you could have done that.
It's called women.
Fair enough.
So, all right. So, what's everybody's on the panel's favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and why?
Probably, I want to say the Avengers right off the bat, but if I had to go with like individual films, Captain America: First Avenger. Yeah!
Woo! That's costume.
I actually have liked every single one of the Cap costumes he's had, possibly with the exception of the
stealth suit thing.
Yeah, the kind of stealthy. I can't remember what they call the Agent Rogers suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's mostly because I am perfectly happy seeing him in bright blue. I know a lot of people get turned off by the the brighter pastel colors, the brighter colors in general of superhero stuff, but I think they got it down perfectly. Superheroes should be bright. They should be colorful. They should be embracing what they are. And you know what? It is symbolic because America's coming and punching evil in the face, even if it doesn't always reflect that in reality.
For myself, I'd say probably Iron Man 1. The main reason I like Iron Man 1 the most is Robert Downey Jr., there's such charisma in his role, and he is Tony Stark. From now until the day that he dies, he will be remembered for the drug problems he had, but then how he cleaned his life up and became Tony Stark. And just the fact that whatever he does at a Comic-Con, he walks around. He's not Robert Downey Jr., he's Tony Stark when he walks around. And I love that, plus the fact that, what's the guy, Jeff Bridges, did he play Obadiah Stane? Was that him?
Yeah.
That, I love Ironmonger. That just, when he stands up and he's that big motherfucker right at the end. I love to look up the Ironmonger costume. And plus, Jarvis is, I think, the funniest in the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my favorite.
I should probably go back. I won't talk about the costume. The reason why I like Captain America: First Avenger the most is because they really captured the essence of Captain America in general, and it can all be summed up in one line. Some movies, some really great movies, if they have like the one line of dialogue that says someone smart wrote this and knows what they're doing, and for that, it really encapsulates the entirety of Captain America. I don't want to kill anyone. I just don't like bullies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bullies.
Absolutely. My favorite. I actually have 2 favorites. I can't compete between the 2 of them because I love them both so much. The first one being Thor, the original Thor, but only because I think that in order to introduce Thor, nobody could have directed it as well as Kenneth Branagh did. I think that the way that the magic versus science and how they meshed that together, if it had been anybody but Kenneth Branagh, I don't think they could have pulled it off because he knows how to be over the top because Shakespeare. And, so I really love Thor. The only thing I really didn't like about Thor, but I forgave it for, was that the whole Jane Foster Thor thing felt so Hollywood, and it felt so tacked on for me. And I was just like, I don't really care about their relationship. I only really care that she's trying to get, and I only really care that she's there because she's supposed to be there because Jane Foster, because they needed a woman and whatever. But in terms of the story, I really like the story and I really like how they did Thor. The other one that's really a competing factor for me is actually Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Best knife fights in the universe. I have background in stage combat, and all of my friends work at a Renaissance fair, and they fight for a living. So when we went to go all see it, all of us were like, "Holy crap, we need to do those fights, you guys!" But I really loved how they took Steve Rogers, who is from World War II, and I really love how they took him and put him in a situation that we can relate to with the whole, oh my God, they're going to take over our media and all that jazz. And I really love how they dealt with that as a whole. And you know, a lot of people said, oh, I don't like it because it's so government meta, whatever. I'm like, you know what? It's Captain America. He works for S.H.I.E.L.D. Shut the hell up.
Question in the back.
Well, I've heard a lot of people, and I agree with this, but I've heard people calling it a 70s political drama with Captain America, and I really like that they took that angle.
Yeah, the fact that it was like Day of the Falcon with like, or
With the
sorry, Day
Falcon?
of the Condor,
Yeah.
with like S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarriers was kind of awesome, I thought.
Yeah.
Can I say, one of the things I think I really liked about the Winter Soldier is that the Black Widow was actually the Black Widow.
Yes.
Yeah, she got to do something.
We saw her
Yes.
behaving like a spy.
Yes.
And, you know, in the same vein, Nick Fury wasn't just Sam Jackson with a sweet eye patch, he was Nick Fury. You know, when it got to the point where at the end, when they're talking about the security clearance, and Pierce looks and goes, I wiped your clearance, I'm sitting there going, yeah, for the one you know about, there's 12 more he has.
I think that was my only major disappointment with Winter Soldier, which was we didn't actually have like model decoys.
Yeah.
They'll show up in S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. You watch.
I should, because that's the other thing. The two things I haven't seen are Incredible Hulk and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is it's entirely my own fault for not watching it yet. But I do love that they actually apparently integrated that scene with Fury in the car. And for those who haven't seen Winter Soldier, I'm not going to spoil it.
Well, it's in the trailer.
Yeah.
Is it in the trailer?
It is.
I don't recall it being in the trailer. But either way, the car scene apparently was both in S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and in the movie. And the fact they were able to integrate them both in together and have this, you know, linking together. I want to meet the person who's actually responsible for coordinating this stuff and just shake their hand.
Yeah, they've done a really good job.
Blue Hat?
Speaking of tying in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the universe, how do you think the characters are going to react to finding out that Coulson is, sorry Linkara spoilers.
I know about that part. That was in the trailer right away.
Yeah. Being director of S.H.I.E.L.D. now.
Ooh. Okay, so my whole thing about Phil, son of Cole, because I refuse to call him anything else, is that my whole thing with him is I'm really happy that he's director of S.H.I.E.L.D. now, because I really like that. My theory is that Nick Fury is just like, you know what, guys, I love you guys. Well, I really don't love you. I just think that you guys are just an asset to me, and that's always how Nick Fury has thought. But I really think that he's about to go have Secret Wars happen, and I really think that's the direction they're going with. And for those of us who've read Secret Wars,
Yes!
Well, let's distinguish here: Secret Wars or Secret War.
Whichever, man.
Because Secret War is the one where S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing the assassinations thing. And
Oh yeah, then it would be
Wars
Secret War.
is the slay your enemies and I will give you whatever you want.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with you and say probably Secret War, because assassination sounds more with this Fury style, if that makes sense. But with the other Avengers, I honestly think that the only Avenger that I think he really wants to tell in person is Captain America, because of how much he loves Captain America. And I really think that he's going to punch Nick Fury in the face for getting blood all over his cards. Yeah, you.
I was going to say, going back to the whole Secret War thing for a minute, after walking out of the Winter Soldier, I went on Tumblr, and I actually followed Bendis on Tumblr. And I messaged him, and I was like, so is Nick going off to wage a war in secret? Maybe he'll require a team of secret warriors to come with him?
I hope so.
He never got back to me, so I'm hoping we're actually getting a Secret Warriors movie.
Avengers 2 is going to be like Secret Warriors now.
Oh, God.
So now we've talked about our favorites. Now we've got to talk about our least favorites.
Oh.
And you're gonna hate me for this one.
Uh-oh.
So I'll start because it'll probably draw the most fire. I hated Thor, the first one. Bloody shit. It was so fucking boring. But okay, now we're talking about typical Marvel Universe stuff. I can bitch about the Amazing Spider-Man 2 till the cows come. Fuck that movie. But no, to me, the first Thor, you're right though. It needed to be directed by Kenneth Branagh. It needed to establish the universe.
Yes.
To make it part of the MCU. But the thing is, I was so goddamn bored.
After the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm like, geez, can something happen already? Now, Chris Hemsworth, wonderful actor, great charisma, and I love the fact when he has that line about, bring me a dog that I can ride. That was pretty funny, but I thought the end game with the Destroyer was lame, and Loki in that movie was lame. Loki was awesome in the Avengers, and in the Dark World.
Fangirling intensifies.
I actually gave a shit. about Loki in Dark World. And
Yeah,
actually,
absolutely.
Dark World changed my mind on the entire Thor thing. I actually started reading the comics because of Dark World.
Oh, hey, you want a great Loki story? The new series, Loki, Agent of
Asgard.
Asgard.
Yep.
I'm going to both agree and disagree with you because the thing is, Thor is my least favorite. The thing is, I don't hate any of them. The real problem with me for Thor is that it's just too basic.
Yes.
I mean, I appreciate a lot of it. It's still a good, in my opinion, it's still a good movie. I like the fact that Thor has an arc, and you know, clear transformation. And Loki, I think, is just downright awesome in the movie because they establish his character, and you really feel for him. And even when he you know realizes his true heritage, he's still trying to abide by what he thinks would be best for Asgard. And in this case, it's you kill all the frost giants.
You're just
But in this case, the thing is, it's just too simple. And I do agree with you about the ending fight with the destroyers, kind of like not really living up to the potential with that kind of knockout, drag out fight. But I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a bad movie. I mean, I like Iron Man too. So what do I know?
Whoa! Hey, Whiplash was cool.
I liked it.
And War Machine.
I love the suitcase armor. So I'm sorry, Jess needs to say her.
No, go ahead. Ask your question first. That's fine.
Just, I love both the Thor movies, but the biggest issue that almost ruined both of them for me was Kat Denning. And I was wondering what you
She's
thought of her.
funny in the second.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I know the whole thing about, you know, Darcy saying meow meow. I know, but I have this thing about how Darcy is the best character who's a civilian, who understands that her world is so vastly changed because of what happens in Thor. And she kind of just takes it in stride. And here's the thing, I lived in New York City for 2 years, and I've walked around that place, and I'm like, you know, it would really suck if one day we walked into Earth 616. We'd be so screwed. We would have so many property taxes, it would be ridiculous.
I would gladly support the Sentinel program at that point, protect me from scary monsters.
Oh, absolutely. Apon, and then I'll tell you guys what my first one and my least favorite is. Go ahead.
Well, I think that the whole, like, there was the argument about Thor. I think that part of the flaw of the first Thor movie was that I didn't come out of it, and I love Kenneth Branagh, but I feel like he wasn't sure whom he was making that movie for. Because you had the very high Shakespearean dramas happening in Asgard, and then you had everything happening on Earth where they were all kind of like sassy young people, kind of a sitcom type thing. So it kind of felt like they just sort of threw Shakespeare into a blender with like Friends, and then
See, that's how I feel about Thor. I feel like the whole line in Avengers when Tony Stark goes Shakespeare in the Park, I feel like that's exactly what Thor is.
That's true.
Thor is freaking Shakespeare if Shakespeare was in the Marvel Universe and had superpowers. That's basically what he is. And I feel like that, I mean, do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the way that Kenneth Branagh directed it, he directed it like a Shakespeare movie because that's exactly what he knows how to do, and that's why he was asked to do the movie.
But I think because he directed it like a Shakespeare movie, it gave that universe that serious grounding. Because you're talking about some pretty weird concepts.
Oh, yeah.
To introduce into a universe where there's suits of armor and dudes with super serum, it kind of blends that science and magic thing, and it worked.
Yeah.
The problem with Thor, in my opinion, was the pacing. And like I said, it was a little too simple. But
Okay, so my least favorite film, and I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this probably, but I absolutely hated Iron Man 3.
A lot of these you do have mixed response from people because some people when they mentioned Kat Denning, some people were cheering and some people were like hissing.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing. We can all have. We're doing such a even. Because there are so many movies in the cinematic universe, we have this ability to say, I just didn't like this all that much, and we're able to agree to disagree about it because we all agree that there are a lot of good ones in there too.
Yeah, my biggest problem with Iron Man 3 was actually not until the very end, and I know that a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I kind of hated Pepper having superpowers for however long she had them.
Well,
I really
think in the comics.
also, Guy Pearce
But
should never be your endgame.
she should have never had them. It should have. Pepper. To me, Pepper is supposed to be the grounding state of Iron Man. Like she is supposed to be there to make him feel like, even though his world is freaking crazy, that she will be there and say, you have a 10 o'clock. You know, I feel like she getting superpowers was kind of nice in terms of revenge against, you know, Guy Pearce. But in other things, I really didn't like it. I really thought it was forced in some places. And I really felt like, yeah, she was badass, but at the same time, I don't think that as some of the fans were ready for it.
Okay, you in the back?
How did you guys feel about how they handled the Mandarin at the end, though?
I actually kind of thought some of that was actually really clever. And with the one shot that kind of follows that.
Yeah, there was like some movie or something that like followed up on it and said, oh yeah, he was a Mandarin the whole time.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like how Ben Kingsley he's in prison as Trevor, whatever, and these guys break in to break him out. He's like, the real Mandarin wants to see you to set the record straight. And I'm thinking, all right, that's actually really kind of badass, because Marvel, they took a gamble with that, because the Mandarin is such an iconic villain of Iron Man, and they turned it was kind of a joke in Iron Man 3, but I thought it was a really cleverly played joke. Although, like I was saying, Guy Pearce should not be your endgame. No. But AIM was cool, though. Although I wish they had the bubble bee suit guys.
and this thing that just keeps happening because I see a Guy Pearce in there and like, I want to talk to you about advanced idea mechanics. I'm just like. Although here's what I will disagree with you on. It's not that, for me, it's not that Pepper got superpowers, it's that they got rid of her superpowers afterwards.
She got better.
And Tony said that he would fix her. There's nothing wrong with her. She can she can shoot fireballs out of her hand and stuff.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if
wasn't she
addressed
self-destruct?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, extremists.
I don't think that's the kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with her. She shouldn't be fixed. She should be willing to fight alongside Tony for these kind of things. In fact, I'm also disappointed that she didn't wield the armor longer in an actual fight, as opposed to just wearing it for this protection.
I mean, I have no problem with her in armor. I just thought that, like, I think that if she's going to be in armor, she should just, like, they should have picked one. They shouldn't have done both, because I feel like both was too much. It's the same problem I have with Spider-Man 3, and the same problem that I'm probably going to have when I finally see Amazing Spider-Man 2, which probably will not be soon, because I've heard terrible things. You, sir, in the back have been really, really patient, so go ahead.
Well, the problem I had with Iron Man 3 is I couldn't help but think, oh, there is a terrorist threatening Tony Stark. If only there was some kind of like a worldwide espionage organization.
Yeah, we're dropping the ball.
Heal the world.
Hey,
my God,
the holidays to be fair.
And although the thing is, even though that question was answered in the Winter Soldier, I still think it's kind of bad that you have to watch another movie just to get the answer that you would beg for the question that was begging to be asked in one movie.
Well, it's kind of like how they get you to buy the next comic book need next month.
It's kind of the same problem I was kind of having during both Winter Soldier and Iron Man 3, because of course they were both post-Avengers. Why the hell aren't they calling anyone else up? Now, of course, you're not going to call Thor up for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But during Iron Man 3, I was just like, when is he going to call Cap? When is Hulk going to show up, like, working in the lab? Or in the case of Winter Soldier, why the hell aren't they calling Tony Stark? Because Tony Stark is off the grid. He's away from S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's someone they can trust.
They don't have them on their My 5 cell.
Or even
Hawkeye's in his pajamas eating cereal.
Yeah,
I mean, okay, and that's like my biggest problem with, like, a lot of people, and this is my biggest problem with the Avengers, and it has nothing to do with the Avengers. I hated that people were like, oh, Hawkeye was so useless in the Avengers. People have told me that. And I was like, people have actually told me that. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. He took out the helicarrier almost single-handedly. Shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth.
He was a bad guy at the time, wasn't he? So.
It doesn't matter.
He was still
He
able
has
to
the clearance. He has the clearance, shield-wise. He has the level clearance. And he can put up a decent fight. And he has the capability of taking out an entire helicarrier that both Maria Hill and Nick Fury are on. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter whether he was evil or not. The fact that he actually did it is just prudent to how powerful he actually is, despite not having access.
And he was taking out flyers left and right.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
He's Batman played by a better actor.
See, no, that's not true, because Hawkeye does not make as much money. Let's be
There's a bit of a pet peeve I have, because I hear people all the time going, Batman is so cool because he keeps up with all these heroes without having any powers, but then they turn around and say, Hawkeye is so lame because he doesn't have any powers. It's like,
Make up your mind.
make up your mind.
Yeah, and
That man does have a superpower. He's ultra rich.
I mean, if you're ultra rich, like how many people here, show of hands, if you had like a lot of money, wouldn't you spend time making yourself a super weapon?
Oh God, yeah.
See, like let's be real. Batman is secretly who we all wish to be if we were all super rich. Let's be real.
I'd be Victor Von Doom. I would play and Doombots.
You'd have your collection of Doombots, and each time you acted out of character, oh, that was just a robot.
Not like Furious Man.
So other parts of the MCU, as we've discussed, is stuff like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Winter Soldier changed everything.
Yeah.
And how these movies are all interconnected. Now, in April of this year, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did an episode called The End of the Beginning, where basically, Hail Hydra, shit happens, shit goes down. And the fact that ABC synced that with the movie so well, they actually played that episode 2 weeks in a row, so everyone could get caught up. And then the next episode following that, I think it was called Beginning of the End or End of the Beginning, something like that. And it dealt with the fallout with Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. so deeply. And you found out about the character of Jasper Sitwell, who was a Hydra sleeper agent, and that senator played by Gary Shandling was a guy too the whole time. So you look back on the Marvel one-shots, for example, The Consultant, Sitwell's involved in that. So you have to wonder how many shady S.H.I.E.L.D. dealings were actually Hydra operations.
I do wonder how far back they planned a lot of this stuff, especially with the Senator guy.
Yeah.
Like did they have in mind already in Iron Man 2 that he was going to be a Hydra agent, or did they just decide, well, this works well for us, let's make him a Hydra agent?
Well, it makes sense because you think about it, he was trying to shut down the Iron Man program to steal the technology.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it's an advanced prosthetic. And that's how Tony got around it. So I'm thinking, Hydra has, if you look back on some of the movies, they've always kind of been there if you look at it post-Winter Soldier now.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was actually really, really clever. And that's kind of what made me love the Marvel Universe that much more.
And what I really love about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, what's his name, Triplet, the guy who joins them after?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so there's this agent, Triplet, for those of you who don't know. There's actually a line said in one of the episodes, I think, when they announced that Patton Oswalt was going to be guest starring as an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And during that episode, they're doing this thing, and I'm not going to give it away, but in the middle of it, he goes, you know, my grandfather was a howling commando, and I go, yes! Oh my God, they're linking it!
Never forgotten!
That's right. So
I do wonder if they're going to expand on Nick Fury's backstory so that he was still a member of the Howling Commandos himself.
You know, I kind of like the fact that they're not alluding to it because I've always found Nick Fury really secretive, and I think that not having a backstory other than he's friggin' Nick Fury.
They'll touch on it in Agent Carter or something.
I'm sure they will because, how many of you are actually excited for Agent Carter? Because if you're not, I'm sorry.
I'm pretty hyped for that.
Oh,
I love
I'm so excited.
I do love how we have these spin-offs like only after one movie. why didn't Coulson just get his own name spin-off?
I don't think that it would have been marketable as, hey, that guy's back from the dead after being stabbed.
He's back, and this time.
One of the things that Agents... Oh, sorry, what?
I just wanted to go back to the Hydra thing for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually been within continuity in the comics since 2002, I think, was with Secret Warriors. And that was written by Bendis, who's sitting on their consulting team, so it's very, very possible they had that planned right from the start.
Oh yeah, Bendis plans long-term for his storylines, and I do appreciate the fact that they're bringing in more and more of the comic stuff into the cinematic universe. The great thing about it, the cinematic universe in general, keep saying the great things about it because I love it.
You're not alone, man.
It's all a matter of stripping away all the things that are completely useless and unnecessary about that happen in the comics, and then put in the important stuff, the good stuff, the stuff that works. We have like Winter Soldier stuff. We don't have to have the retcon part of it where he was like, they kind of have retcons of that just in the first Captain America movie, but we don't have to have all the baggage of him being like a prior sidekick or something. He just has to be Cap's best friend. and you get the same emotional kind of connection to him.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. These writers know how to take away the things that are completely unnecessary from the comics and just keep all the good bits.
Now, there's one thing I'd love to get people's opinions on. So, look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole right now. It's like, how many movies do you know?
8, 9?
8, 9. That started back in 2008 with Iron Man 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
You look at how movies have now changed. Look, for example, how DC is now rushing to create their cinematic universe. And I think Marvel, despite doing a wonderful thing, will kind of fuck up comic book movies for a while now. Because they all want to have this shared continuity. I mean, with the Flash getting the spin-off from Arrow, that's good, that's cool. But that's not going to be, they're not going to be in Justice League in that form. They've splintered it.
The problem with DC stuff is DC has never been great about the cinematic part of it, especially because they're owned by Warner Brothers, who have their own ideas about what they want to do with the properties. It's television where DC tends to shine.
I was just going to say that. I was actually just going to say that, how DC's realm has always been television. It has, Green Arrow, the first 6.5 seasons of Smallville were okay.
7 had some good.
I mean, 7
Justice
had
League, Batman animated, the entire Timberverse in general.
Anything animated, they were.
Young Justice.
They rule anything animated, but in terms of like live action, like Smallville had a good run for the first like 6.5 years. Some of them in 7 were okay. The Green Arrow I haven't seen yet, but I've heard really good things. Derek keeps telling me to freaking watch it.
Arrow is amazing.
I know, you keep telling me to watch it, and I'm
Plus,
like, I need to.
Suicide Squad now. So.
And
How about he invents his own supervillains first?
I've seen the Flash trailer. I'm really excited about it. I really want to watch it, and I really think that Warner Brothers has a good thing with TV. But with Marvel I feel has gotten their shit together. Like, they know what they're doing. They have scripts for like 20 some odd movies in advance. I mean, people are speculating at Comic-Con that we're gonna get announcements for, who's gonna be playing Doctor Strange, who's gonna be playing Black Panther. Okay, by the way, I said when they started Iron Man, I said in 2008, I was like, they're gonna friggin' make a Black Panther movie. And nobody friggin' believed me. Because, let's be real, Black Panther is one of the only people in the world who has punched the shit out of the Silver Surfer.
Now, who would you cast as Black Panther?
If Idris Elba was 20 years younger, him. But I would really want a younger guy. I also thought about the guy from Blood Diamond, but because he's in Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't think that'll work.
I wish I could get Michael Jai White.
He would
just
be
after Spawn in '97.
Yes.
What are people's thoughts? Who do people think should play Doctor Strange?
Depp.
I don't know.
That's the thing.
Depp can pull it off.
I don't know.
I think he's too well known, though.
Here's what I love about this is the other thing I love about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, with the exception of Robert Downey Jr., a lot of the casting has been relatively unknown in terms of title roles. Like Chris Evans was known for Human Torch, which nobody friggin' watched the second one anyway.
And not another teen movie.
Not another teen movie, and he was one of the evil exes in Scott Pilgrim. And it wasn't. If you don't remember that, you need to go watch that movie right after this panel.
In fact, I recall when the Captain America movies were at first announced and announced Chris Evans, I was worried as all hell because of the Human Torch connection.
Yeah.
I hated him as the Human Torch.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that in terms of people, I think that Depp could work as a Doctor Strange, but I really would love to see a relative unknown.
Yeah.
And I would really love to see, like, I love how the Marvel Cinematic Movies, even though they're an independent film company, they have turned this into a huge star-studded thing. And they're one of the only independent movie companies after the Golden Age of Hollywood that has actually made a name for themselves. And that's really interesting in terms of, no longer the big five.
Now, you've been super patient here.
Yeah, you really have. I'm so sorry.
A question and a comment. The question is, do you consider the first Hulk movie to be part of the cinematic universe, since it ties in with the second one, which is part of it? And,
That's a tough
Wait. Are we talking about the one?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Because Incredible Hulk is a direct sequel to it, and Incredible Hulk is...
Yeah,
It's more a soft reboot.
Yeah, it's more of a soft reboot to me. I mean, Ang Lee, Here's the thing, I like certain things about that movie. I've tried to block most of it out, but I liked some of it. I didn't like
Mutant Poodles.
Yeah. Mutant Poodles. But with The Incredible Hulk, I feel like the soft reboot really established a lot, and then the whole bullcrap with, Edward Norton's not coming back because reasons. And I was like, you know what, I'm okay with that because I kind of hate him as an actor anyway. And I think I don't care. I think that Mark Ruffalo is a much better Bruce Banner, having seen both of them. I think that Mark Ruffalo does a much better job as the guy who... And here's the thing about Hulk that I really loved in the Avengers. Hulk, even though he refers to him as the other guy, I feel like Bruce understands that even though the Hulk is there and he will always be there, he realizes that the Hulk is there to protect him from things. And I feel like that is a really big understanding connection that he needed to have.
Well, I think with Mark Ruffalo, the point where he talks about the Hulk trying to commit suicide.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful moment.
Yeah, like you really get the fact that, man, this guy's fucked up.
Yeah, he's not just, a science bro. He's...
With, like, Ed Norton, I never got that.
I never got that with him, and that's why I hated Ed Norton as Bruce Banner, because he didn't make me feel the connection that he had to the Hulk as something that he didn't want to have. He made me feel like, it's a burden, but I'm dealing with it.
He's a burden, and there's a support group for him.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas with Mark Ruffalo, you feel like, it's a burden, and he's tried everything that he can, and he's finally learning to accept it even though he doesn't want to, and he's growing as a person because of it.
And he has more control over it
yeah, exactly.
than you would think. Now, of course, he went on that rampage in the helicarrier, but that was mostly because it was triggered. It was Loki. It was triggered without when he was under great stress and he couldn't control it. But when he's deliberately triggering it, he clearly has the ability to listen to people and work with them, and he's still pissed off.
Yeah,
but he's enjoying himself.
You've been really patient.
One great thing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that they take minor characters and they make them completely awesome.
And they make you care about them.
They make you care about them. Falcon, Bucky,
Fuck yeah, Anthony Mackie.
and Iron Man. Iron Man has had some really great side characters. What is your favorite, and what do you think should be a good side character that they utilize?
Well, you guys think I totally have this.
Okay.
Anthony Mackie as Falcon is kind of the greatest thing in the universe. Not just because he's like America's new sweetheart in terms of Marvel, because he's done charades as Marvel Cinematic Heroes, which is kind of great. But he really owns the role. He really, when I watched Winter Soldier, I felt like I was not watching an actor. I really felt like I was watching Falcon like screw around with Captain America. That's what I felt like when they were running with each other, like on your left, like that's stuff that they would do. Like that's totally them. So I feel like he's one of the best side characters. I also feel like in Thor, I really liked Hawkeye's line of, I'm starting to root for this guy. That made me feel like, he understands what's going on and he's a good side character. And then when he stepped up into the Avengers, I was like, now he's a main character, but in Thor, he was still kind of a side character, But I think there's really no side character that I don't like. I just think that Falcon really stands out to me because he's very, and he doesn't ask questions. Like when Cap and Black Widow stop by his house, he goes,
orange juice?
Yeah, he doesn't even like ask questions. He's like, Cap goes, can we hide here? And he goes, hey, I'm making pancakes. Cool, Dad?
Captain America comes at your door. Of course you're gonna make him pancakes.
Because that's the American thing to do.
Taking that ever brings
Of course, pancakes are America, according to Denny's. I'm gonna skip you here right away because actually I agree with Jeff for pretty much every reason you said. Yeah, Falcon is my favorite.
I'm gonna go against. I like Coulson, and it's mostly because of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I've had the chance, rather than just seeing him develop over 2 hours, I've seen him develop over 24.
Yeah.
And I really get the fact that you feel his betrayal. When you see S.H.I.E.L.D. go to hell, he's like, oh my god, now what am I gonna do?
I feel like with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson has really become more of a main character because of, that's why I don't count him as a side character anymore, because he doesn't...
He grew from a side to a main.
Yeah, Hawkeye did it in a limited amount of time, but I feel like halfway through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I was like, he's a main character. Like, I can't... yeah, he got stabbed as a side character, but now he's in his own element and he's okay with, he's good.
How about more constantly crapped upon War Machine?
I love War
I
Machine.
hate the Iron Patriot armor, but I love the War Machine.
I know, I love War Machine too, but like the universe keeps crapping on.
Oh my god, yeah.
Different actors, different
actors. The big missile thing doesn't work. He has to suffer through Iron Patriot.
Now, here's a question for you. We've talked about the main Marvel Cinematic Universe, the one that we all know and love. Let's expand that a little bit, and here's what I mean. Do you care that Spider-Man is not a part of the MCU? I think it's actually better because he's not there.
Yeah, I don't see him working with S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think some of those are fighting words for some of these people.
Yeah, totally. I want someone who is against me here.
I want a good Spider-Man.
You with the orange person. And the hat.
I want Wolverine in the movies.
Do you think he would work with the way these movies are done, though?
I really want my Captain America Wolverine War movie.
Spoonie has talked about this before. The problem, here's the thing, this has always been a constant problem with the Marvel Universe. Mutants just don't work with the main Marvel Universe. They just don't.
They don't.
Then when you have like a high-profile team like the Avengers in the comics universe, and then you have people hating and fearing mutants who can just grow a little plant out of the ground. They're like, oh crap, we gotta get away from them. It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
I mean, there's like inconsistency with how people treat them, with how the government treats them, and it just creates these huge problems. And this is most evident during Civil War, when mutants seemed to be kind of just excluded from the whole thing, and they were just like, we've been telling you about this crap for years, so you know what? We're washing our hands of it.
Yeah, and I feel like in terms of Wolverine being in the, I would be okay with Wolverine in the universe for one reason and one reason only. For those of us who have read the Infinity Gauntlet, you know exactly why. And for those of us who haven't read the Infinity Gauntlet, I'll tell you why. It's because Wolverine is the only one to land a punch on Thanos. The only one. And I would accept the Hulk just because it would actually be a viable thing if they couldn't get Wolverine. But if they could get Hugh Jackman to agree to punch Thanos in the face, I would be completely fine with that. In terms of Spider-Man not being part of the universe, I'm actually kind of fine with it because it feels to me like, and we were discussing this last night, it feels to me like they're just trying to rush as many Spider-Man movies as possible because of the contract they have.
Which they may have canceled the third one now.
Which based on some of the second, The problem is that with Spider-Man, I feel like I don't really care about the Tobey Maguire series. I thought Spider-Man 2 was really good. I liked the first Amazing Spider-Man. I didn't see 2, but I really want a friggin' Maximum Carnage movie.
Yes!
Does anybody else think that I know right now it doesn't seem like it's ever gonna happen, but if we got a group of nerds together to write Maximum Carnage, could we make this happen?
We could. The problem being we'd have to pretty much skip all the Venom and Carnage backstory. We just have to jump into it.
Well, yeah.
So you ultimate version of
Jim
it.
Carrey will make awesome Cletus Cassidy.
Actually, David Caruso.
Yes.
He would be an awesome Cletus Cassidy.
You know who I would actually pick? Jackie Earle Haley. But,
I can see that.
But instead of doing the gruff voice, just have him be giggly and crazy.
Yeah.
Now, who would you cast as Venom? Because I always picture that big buff muscle version as opposed to
The Rock.
Okay, this is going to be a really unpopular opinion, but from what I've seen of Drax the Destroyer, I think that a professional wrestler would actually work.
Bro, I talked about this, and I'm going to draw heat for it, so I'm just going to say it. I was talking about this with my friends a few weeks ago. If you could get him to look a little more evil, I think a guy who has the body type of someone like, say, John Cena as Venom, but not John Cena because he's too...
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
He smiles at everything.
It's really funny because, a lot of people know that I'm a professional wrestling fan, and they're like, how do you feel about, Batista being Drax the Destroyer? And I'm like, that is the best casting in the universe because he actually knows what it's like to beat the shit out of people.
What about CM Punk?
CM Punk's retired from everything because he hates the world. Also, he's dating. He's married to AJ Lee now, and they have all the sex. Let's be real. CM Punk's been okay.
Actually, Roman Reigns. That's a bad idea.
Oh my God, Roman Reigns is so hot. We should get him.
For that reason alone.
All right. You
Ricardo
Okay, first
Montalban.
off, shout out to the 5 minutes of wrestling we just got there. But
That's dumb,
since we're talking about characters that we like to see, and what would you guys think out of anybody in the universe that you'd like to see in like a movie anytime soon?
I want to see another Punisher movie.
Yes.
With James. It has to be James.
There was talk for a while about doing a Punisher TV series and doing it as a police procedural. But here's the thing, it could work if it was on AMC or HBO. Because if you had the AMC level of violence and you could get Thomas Jane to do it, I mean, he did Hung, so he's not opposed to doing TV, you could introduce this idea. And it wouldn't surprise me, because we've got about 13 minutes here left, the new Netflix shows.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
I promise you, Punisher's going to show up. The rights have now reverted back to Marvel.
I was going to say, they announced
I think it's Daredevil.
Yeah, Daredevil.
Jessica Jones.
Iron
Fist.
And Luke Cage.
Heroes for Hire,
Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if Punisher shows up and they kind of make him work alongside Daredevil, but not like we're not buddies. We have a common enemy.
Yeah.
What about you? Who do you want to see?
I really, honestly, well, we already know I want to see a Black Panther movie. I'm really excited about that. But the other hero that I really want to see, I'm kind of interested, even though they don't have the rights, I'm kind of interested in seeing a good Doctor Doom. I didn't have a problem with Julian McMahon as Victor Von Doom, but as Doctor Doom,
he looks like an asshole.
He didn't do it for me. Like, he didn't give me the kneel before Doom crap. I mean, not to be like completely like, nerdy or anything, but I honestly think that Angry Joe would make a better Doom.
Hollywood, we have any ethnicity play any other ethnicity on the planet.
And the whole Human Torch thing
That's true.
with Michael B. Jordan being the new Human Torch, like, I think that's a really good casting choice, just because.
I wasn't referring to that. I was more referring to how we have Scottish people playing Russians.
Well, yeah, but like I really like that. Like they're going the minority route. I really think that's because I think that's more relevant now.
There's this great GIF of him like getting talked to by reporters, like, "What do you think of all the people who hate you for the role? They're still gonna see it."
What about you, man?
I am really looking forward to Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Because here's the thing, while Thor kind of represents the magic side of things, he doesn't really use magic, he just summons lightning, because he's a god. But we need an actual person who's like casting spells left and right. We need someone who is the Sorcerer Supreme.
I want to see Dormammu.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Or Baron Mordo.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm actually really surprised they haven't done Doctor Strange yet, because Doctor Strange's movie is just Iron Man, but with magic.
Yeah, and the other thing about
in the 70s.
We don't talk about that. Or rather, I talk about that with Nash and Film Break.
I really like that the other, it was alluded to in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, they're like, Stephen Strange, like, we should wipe him off the map, and the first thing that popped into my head was like, good fucking luck.
You're gonna need a bigger boat, man. You. Yeah.
I was just wondering, I know that a lot of the Marvel movies, they do create their own new storylines, but like we saw with Iron Man 3 had Extremis, and then there's going to be Age of Ultron coming up. What storylines do you want to see them possibly touch on in the future?
Infinity Gauntlet done.
Doom Quest?
Infinity Gauntlet is really the only thing I'm looking forward to right now. Mostly because I want to see how they're going to do Death, because the entire point of Infinity Gauntlet is Thanos impressing the fuck out of Death, and she not actually talking to him.
Who do you think would play a good Death?
I don't think that anybody should play a good Death. I think it should be CGI, and
I think it should be a skeleton.
I think it should also be a skeleton.
Who should voice it?
Well, she only really has like one line.
I was going to say, does she ever talk?
I don't think she ever talks in the Infinity Gauntlet. I don't think she ever talks.
And all she ever does is just.
She just stands there and just
is just like
she has, well, here's the thing, like, in Infinity Gauntlet, she does not talk. It's all of her servants who talk to Thanos and say, you're too powerful for her. She won't talk to you because you're above her or you're beneath her. She doesn't really talk unless she's part of the Living Tribunal, and for those of you who don't know, go look it up. But yeah, she doesn't really talk, and I think you could honestly get away with a CGI Death and not have anybody play her. And Joss Whedon has thought long and hard about this. This has been his endgame for a very long time. So I think I trust him because he knows what he's doing. He proved that when he made $1 billion with the Avengers. So I basically imagine him walking into the studio and saying, hey, so I made $1 billion, so if you don't give me what I want, I'm just going to walk out and you good luck, and you can fuck up the rest of the Marvel Universe. And they're giving him what he wants. He's been directing other scenes, like the scene with the Collector. He directed that. He's directed anything pertaining to any of the Avengers stuff because that's what he does. So I think in terms of characters or anything like that, that's really where we're at with something like that. Other storylines, I'm not really sure because I really think that because everybody plays such a central role in the Infinity Gauntlet, I think that should be an end-all game for the first trilogy of the Avengers.
Here's the problem I have with Infinity Gauntlet. I'm sorry to interrupt there. It's that, I mean, it's been a while since I've read it, but I don't recall it ending with the heroes actually doing much to actually end the threat. Mostly, the heroes get swept aside.
Yeah,
so
it's mostly between Thanos and Death, and when she doesn't talk to him, he gets all like uppity
and shit.
Yeah, he gets all emo and shit and throws the gauntlet down.
Which worries me because it really comes down to, well, our heroes were pointless.
Yeah.
Which, unless they change around the storyline about it, and that was like a huge crossover where even Spider-Man was like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah, but the point is they were pointless.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's great. That's great for this kind of story.
Yeah,
it does not make a great movie if your hero didn't have to do anything.
I mean, people go to the Marvel Cinematic
Warlock was just trying to distract Thanos enough that the Silver Surfer could grab the gauntlet.
And they failed.
And then he missed it by that much.
I feel like that Lewis is right. Like, he does not, like, Thanos, he becomes an emo little bitch. That's basically what happens. Like, you know, and I feel like that won't translate to screen. Like, unless they really have a be-all, end-all fight after he drops the Infinity Gauntlet to just beat him into submission.
Or if they somehow, or if they're somehow very clever and trick him into giving it up or something.
Now,
yeah.
Can I just say something? I think Death just walked in the room. As soon as we just started shit talking. Oh, come on, dude, I'm fat. I've got nothing going.
Take me, I volunteer as tribute.
Now, in terms of storylines,
I'll see you at D20 Live.
I can see some Really? If there's one story I can see, it would be animated. It would be rated R. Marvel Zombies. And get as many of the original voice actors, or sorry, the original actors to come back and do their roles. That would be amazing.
Army of Darkness crossover.
Yes.
You know, that's, I'm iffy about that because Marvel Zombies is just one of those dark black comedy kind of stories where it's just like, well, that depressed me a whole bunch. But you know what? I definitely go for Army of Darkness versus Marvel Zombies.
Hey, Galactus in the end.
Yes, but again, it's black comedy kind of a thing where it's just like, yeah, but they're still zombies and they still killed everybody.
And Ash shot Howard the Duck.
Not to be completely off topic here, but I totally want to see a Deadpool movie.
Get Ryan Reynolds in a good movie. I like Green Lantern, but let's get Ryan Reynolds in a good movie.
I think that the problem I have with I really think that because I think it was Loki who told him he was in a comic book, right? Was it Loki? Yeah. I think it was Loki.
I thought it was just insane.
No, I think it was Loki who like just walked up to him and said, "Dude, you're in a comic book." And then like he saw like freaking Bullseye, and he was like, "Oh yeah, panel 13, that happened." I think that a Deadpool movie would be really awesome. I know Ryan Reynolds is trying to finagle a good director. They apparently have a working script. I don't know if they're. I know that I trust Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, but the monstrosity at the end of the original X-Men Wolverine Origins, that was not Deadpool, and I really liked that they did the secret ending of, you know, Ryan Reynolds just walking up there and shh. And I think that's really good. In terms of, but I think that Fox owns those rights, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, anything X-Men related, Fox owns.
Yeah,
well,
I would also love to see.
Which is why we have 2 Quicksilvers and 2 Scarlet Witches.
Yeah, I would also love to see.
Well, that was actually Polaris in Days of That was Polaris. That wasn't Wanda. So we only theoretically have one Wanda at that point.
I would also love to see a Cable and Deadpool movie because those comics were so long. Mostly because Cable is really awesome, and anybody who says otherwise is not reading the right comic book.
Now, aside from Secret Wars in terms of stuff I want to see Armor Wars.
Ooh, yeah.
Interesting. I want to see Tony going off and going semi-villain.
I would love that.
That would be really cool.
Wasn't Armor Wars though technically just the second Iron Man movie?
Not really.
Because Whiplash is not really armor based.
No, but he became.
He did the repulsor tech.
Yeah, he took the tech, but we should see seeing him going after like every single kind of derivative of his armor and just and going overboard and stuff like that.
Does it make me a bad person that I really want to see MODOK in a movie?
Oh God!
I honestly thought the bad guy in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the clairvoyant, I thought that was MODOK.
I did too, actually. I did, and when they revealed it to be like who it was, I was like, that's lame.
MODOK would be cooler.
Oh, I also want Red Skull to come back.
Come on, you guys.
Alright, Keyblade.
Okay. What I'd really like to see is actually a crossover between both Spider-Man universes. The new ones and the old ones.
Andrew Garfield would kick the shit out of
I don't know. Like, see, with that, I feel like that's entering Clone Saga territory,
Do it.
and I don't want to touch that.
Do it as a movie.
Something like that.
You know what's sad? I would watch Clone Saga if they could turn it into a 3-parter animated movie.
Here's what you do. You do that the real Clone Saga miniseries they did a few years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Something like that.
Although with less jackal silliness.
I think that with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think they have so much potential to do much more than they have. And I feel like season 2 is really going to have to be where they really step up the game.
There needs to be more villains.
They need to, yeah. I really like the setup season of, the Hydra S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. I really liked that, and I really liked the payoff. The payoff was amazing.
More Batroc Zileper.
I really want to have, I really liked the tie-ins with Lady Sif. I really liked the tie-ins with Captain America. I really want, one day, I want, Coulson to basically say, hey, so guys, we gotta go take care of Bullseye because he's beating the shit out of people in Hell's Kitchen. Let's go. I want that to happen.
You know what's funny how you mentioned Batroc? I actually get to meet him in September. I won a contest through 7-Eleven, a trip to Vegas. I've never seen George St. Pierre fight, so I'm just going to quiz him the whole time about Batroc the Liver. Just to troll him, and I want to see if I can get him to call Spoonie, because I know he has this huge obsession with Batroc on his Twitter. This is Batroc City Per. Fuck off.
Let's get Taskmaster in the movies.
Yes! He should be training S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. But guys,
he should be next.
We're out of time.
He should be. Let's go back to GPS for a minute, or GSP. I saw some show he did where he was on this Quebec talk show with Justin Trudeau drinking wine.
Justin Trudeau.
I'm going down and stealing from the cell thing. So thank y'all for coming out here.